Yeah, before we jump in, we thought that Janine and I would introduce ourselves quickly to all of you. We wish that you could all introduce yourselves, but there are a few too many of you for that. So first off, hello, my name is Kathleen Rouse. I'm the internship coordinator at SuccessWorks. Oh, I should say hi to you up here. I also work with the nonprofit education career community doing advising, and previously to this role, I advise students in the business school. So that's where I get my job and internship searching expertise, I would say.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Janine Ye. You can see my title is Customer Service Coordinator. So as part of that, I serve on our employer relations team. I do a lot of work with Handshake, some of the career fairs, interviews, stuff like that. So that is kind of where my expertise on job and internship searching comes into play.
All right.
All right. So before we delve into the material, I just wanted to give a quick overview of what is SuccessWorks in case there are people here that have never heard of us before. So you can see on the screen just a quick hit of some of the little things that we do. So we do offer all of our services all summer long. So if you really love this workshop, love us, feel free to attend. We've got more workshops happening this summer, and we do have virtual advising with us all summer long and then into the school year as well. And like I mentioned, we'll also do like the career fairs, interviews, mock interviews, networking events, and things like that for students in the College of Letters and Science.
Awesome. Okay, and then really quickly, we promise this is the last we get started subject here. So how to interact with this presentation? We would love your questions. There are a lot of you, but not too many where we can't field questions either after the presentation or through the presentation. So please feel free to use the chat to ask questions. You can ask them to the everyone chat or feel free to send them just to the moderator, and we'll practice that in just a second, just in case you all have different proficiency. Don't worry about using video. I don't actually think you even can, so no worries there. Handout. So I am going to paste in the chat right now a link to a Google Doc that is basically a resource. It's called a resource guide, and it follows along with the presentation. So we'll be talking a lot about different resources. You know, you can find this on our website. You could find this on Handshake, etc. That Google Doc there is the document that has all of the links that you need for everything we're talking about. Because obviously links in a PowerPoint don't do you any good. So we will send that again later, but yeah, feel free to jump in there, download that. It has just a lot of the great resources that you'll need to do the things that we talk about. And then of course, it looks like everyone's doing great, mute themselves unless they are speaking. So I think we're all good there. And yeah, feel free to do the raise hand or the chat function for the questions, and we will definitely get to those. One thing that is, we hope, helpful for you all in this presentation is we do have some interactions which we have titled Poll, Chat Box, and Quest, and you can see that they're always blue. So anytime you see something blue on the screen, we are asking you to contribute something. We want to make sure that this is working for you, that we're talking about the right things. And so nothing is going to be too intense. The quests are really like a quest on Google, so no worries in case you're worried at all. But if you see blue, that means that you should be participating somehow, and the directions will always be up on the screen. So with that, we're gonna try our first one out here.
Yes, all right, here we go. So we're gonna kick it off with a poll. If you would just take a minute or two, I'll give a little bit of a warning before I close it. To answer, are you searching for a job or internship? And then we can also find out how many comedians are in the group too. All right, I'm gonna give about 10 more seconds because it looks like we're getting most people, and I'll show responses as well and then take it down. A lot of people searching for both jobs and internships right now. All right. All right, so hopefully everyone can kind of see the responses just to get a sense of where other people in the workshop are and kind of what they're looking for. Looks like the poll worked for the most part for everyone as well, which is great. Definitely what we're trying to test here.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So it sounds like we're going to be talking both job and internship. And we are going to do one more test here. Thank you for participating in that one. If you can, please send your WISC email directly to Janine. And so I think y'all are pretty familiar with this, but if not, if you're in the chat, you go up to everyone and then previous panel and you go to moderators and you can send your WISC email specifically to a moderator. So we want to make sure y'all know the difference between sending something to everyone versus just the moderators. And also you will get the resource guide followed up with if you send Janine your email. Are you receiving emails, Janine?
I am. I'm hearing all the nice little pings. Here we go.
Awesome. Cool.
Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you everyone. So yes, keep sending your WISC email to Janine. Y'all are pros, so we really should just get started because you obviously know what you're doing here.
Yep.
In Blackboard.
Yeah. All right, so here is just...
Actually, so sorry, last thing. We are recording this presentation. Yep, I totally forgot to say that. It won't have any identifying information on it when we use it, but we just wanted to let you all know.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Kathleen, for that reminder. All right, so here is just a rundown of what we are going to be talking about today. We'll talk through some prep, what to do before you start, how does your search change because of COVID-19. We'll talk through a few places to search for jobs and internships, both some that are a little more general, but we'll also provide some that are more industry specific. We'll touch on networking, a few other ways to build skills if you weren't able to get an internship this summer, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A. We'll also try to leave a little bit of space after we go through each of those sections for you all to ask questions as well. But as Kathleen said, feel free to just put questions you have in the chat as we're going along, and we'll try to stop and answer those for you. All right.
Awesome. So let's jump in with preparation. So this will not be a long slide because or we won't spend too much time on this, but there are some things you have to do right before you start a job or internship search. So we wanted to mention them, and we have lots of resources just in case you are still in this preparation stage. And so the first thing is internet resources. And what I actually mean by that is like resources to help with the internet, right? So you all are clearly on the internet since you're joining us today, but hopefully folks who may be viewing this like videotaped know that there are resources out there in case you don't have a stable internet connection. And we have those in the resource guide. Check those out because as we know, everyone lives on the internet now. And so you have to have a stable internet connection in order to job search. Most likely your search will have maybe all of its components online, even through interviewing. So very important that you have that. Then, of course, you have to kind of know what you're looking for, right? And so if you are at the stage where you're like, well, I just want an internship or I need a job, but you aren't sure any more information than that, then you really need to do some thinking about what type of job, what type of internship, what industry might I want to work in, what might I want to do, right? Because it's very hard to conduct a job or internship search if you don't know that information. So again, we have some resources in the guide to help you out with that if that is where you are at. knowing how to introduce yourself. Someone actually, I think a student I was talking to yesterday put this really well, talking about what I've done in the past, what I'm currently doing, and what I'm hoping to do in the future. That is essentially an elevator pitch, right? And it's in relation, of course, to a job or an internship. Again, if you don't have that yet, check out those links to some resources to start working on that. Doesn't have to be complicated, right? Very simple. I'm currently a junior psychology major, looking for an internship in marketing where I can use my, knowledge of people behavior to market consumer products or something like that, right? So it does not have to be overcomplicated. And then, of course, you need to have your documents ready. So we'll ask you a question in a little bit, but of course, you have to have a resume and a cover letter. So if you do not have a resume or a cover letter, please write that down somewhere, type it, whatever you need to do. You can't do a job or internship search without a resume and a cover letter. So put that on the number one list. And then lastly, I'll just say this works for the whole search. Create a schedule, right? Like some of you all may be doing different things right now. You may be taking classes still, you may be working a job, you might not. The world is kind of weird, as we know. You may not be leaving your house, So what we suggest very strongly is that you schedule your search into your schedule just like a class or a job, right? Like you block out 2 to 3 hours every Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever fits in your schedule. But that is really going to help you stay on top of things and also just know, okay, that's when I'm doing these activities that we're going to talk about. So highly recommend that if you haven't done it. And now let's do a little poll to see where you are at with some of this. All right,
everyone. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Judy, sorry.
Yep, yeah, we'll do the same thing. I'll give everyone about a minute or so. Just answer if you have a resume already created. I'll show the responses, and then we'll move on as well. All right. It looks like almost everyone has responded, so I'll give maybe like 5-10 more seconds for the last few people if they would like to respond. But it looks like we've got a lot of yeses, which is always great. Always if you already have one ready to go. All right.
Should we show our responses? All right.
Awesome.
So, yeah, this is good news. Good news. And if you're just getting also totally fine, you just want to put that on the top of the list.
Yes, always still good. All right, so here's just a quick reminder that we're in a pretty much virtual world for the foreseeable future, so it's a great time to practice your formal communication when you're like typing that out. Because I know for sure I have sent multiple messages to like my office's executive director and have just like no capitalization, no like hi, just said like, can I do this thing? Which, in my setting works fine because I know the executive director, but generally would not recommend doing that. So remember that even as you're typing messages, grammar is important. Emojis, especially as you're networking or when we get into career fair season, try to avoid those, as well as avoiding acronyms so that you don't have to explain yourself or whoever you're communicating with doesn't have to try to figure out what you're saying to them. We want to make the communication as clear as possible. All right, and then as well, before you begin searching, it's really important, again, now that we're in a virtual world, to research yourself. just to take a second and to look at, if you Google yourself, what comes up and what does your online presence convey? Does your LinkedIn and your Handshake account explain and make it clear what positions you would be looking for or you're interested in? What's on your Facebook and Instagram? Because those kind of things will definitely come up if employers are searching for you. I know certainly when I've been on search committees, at some point when we're kind of narrowing down our candidates, I've definitely just gone on to Google and like Googled them to see like what pops up. And I found some interesting things. I'll just leave it at that. So it's important to know what your online presence looks like, what you are conveying there, and that you're just being very clear about maybe the positions you're interested in, your values, your ethics. All of those things are great things to have on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, Handshake, Instagram, and that. So with that,
we are actually going to do, so you all can please go ahead and Google yourself, because we would love to know kind of what happens when you do that. It's just always a good exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a poll up here for you. You have to fire up the Google machine here, so we'll give you like a little more time.
Yeah, a little longer.
All right, we've got a profile currently winning. That's what we like to see.
Exactly. We want to see that. Oh, good, good. LinkedIn.
Yeah, I love it. All right, just a few more seconds if you want to share with us what is when you Google yourself. All right, a few more trickling in. Okay, so this is where we are at. It looks like LinkedIn is winning, which we in the career world love to see. Yep, great job, everyone. Got Facebook, Twitter, and we've got other. Does anyone in the chat want to share what their other is, or not really? Feel free to share with us if you found something interesting, or and see. Influencers with the same name as you. The struggle is real, Charlotte. Uh-oh. And she's at UW too.
Wow, that's really just making it confusing.
Brings me to department page. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Other people.
And that's a common problem.
So there are ways you can kind of work on that SEO, search engine optimization. One thing that some folks who have really common names do is they do use their middle initial. So that's something that you could decide if you want. I had a former colleague whose name was Shannon Kelly, and there's like a million of them, so she always used her middle initial. But if that's something you're really worried about or interested in, Google some search engine optimization on your name. There's a lot of good stuff out there. And if LinkedIn isn't your first one, build up your LinkedIn profile, because they are great, the first thing to pop up.
They certainly are.
Thank you all for sharing too.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so we're gonna take a guest lecture. That's fun.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty. We're going to take just a few minutes to talk about being strategic in the job search. So while I'm chatting, just feel free to throw in the chat box examples of industries that would be doing well despite or because of the pandemic. So before you begin, it's important to do your research, kind of understand what industries are still doing well, and to also think through what positions could be done remotely as well. So here you can see on the slide we've got some links for websites where you can find who's hiring, companies that are hiring specifically for remote, and all of that great information. As Kathleen said at the beginning, links on a PowerPoint, not super helpful. But we will have them on that handout that Kathleen shared with you. So right now, obviously, like our technology industry is doing really well. Government is still doing very well. A lot of like, ooh, sorry everyone. Those industries are still doing really well. Education as well. Any like K through 12, people still need teachers as well. There are a lot of other industries that are still doing great. So it's important to just do a little bit of research, do that like Google search for the industries that are doing well, or feel free to use these links that we'll provide for you all to find out who's still doing well. And it's also important to know that just because your major might not perfectly align with that industry doesn't mean you can't look for jobs in those industries. That's what, you know, your career office is here for. We're here to help you build up those skills so that you're ready to kind of dive into those industries if you feel like your major isn't necessarily a perfect fit. All right, and we are going to move now into kind of the meat, what you probably are all here for, where you can be looking for jobs and internships. The most exciting part.
All right.
And of course, poll.
Okay, and I started talking with my microphone off. That was very helpful before, but I wanted to just echo what Janine said too about the major. So if, for example, you were dying to work for Airbnb, right? Like that's not, right now is not a great time, right? For travel, for hospitality. So maybe your first job isn't the dream job because of the current pandemic environment, but eventually you can get there. So don't forget that, you know, your first job is not your forever job by any means. Yeah, and please let us know here now in this poll if you have a Handshake account, because that is what we will be talking about. So it will be good to see where y'all are at with that.
Great. Yeah, I'm hoping we don't get a lot of what is Handshake, because you all had to RSVP in Handshake to get here, or most of you did. So that'd be a little concerning.
All right, looking good. Yeah. Okay. A few more seconds, everyone, if you want to tell us where you're at with Handshake. All right. Good stuff. Most people, you know, are actively looking or have an account but haven't done much yet. So that's good. That's, I think, what Janine will cover for y'all.
That is indeed perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to take a little bit to talk about Handshake. So if you haven't done a ton with Handshake, hopefully you find this super helpful. Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. All right. So if you don't know where to find Handshake, we've got that link on there. You can also find it through MyUW. You can just search for Handshake, and it just needs your net ID, your password. It's really great, really easy to get into. So why is Handshake so great? It's a high visibility to employers. There are like tens of thousands of employers in there. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs in Handshake as well. You can track your applications. There are events, which hopefully you all know because you managed to find us today through Handshake. You can network with students. Employers will message you on Handshake. And there's also the opportunity to do a little bit of Q&A. So I'm actually going to take the slides down for just a second. It might be a little awkward for just 2 minutes here while I switch over to show you all Handshake and walk through that. All right, hopefully everyone, if you all can see my screen, if you could just throw like a thumbs up or a yes into the chat. It occurred to me I probably can't see the chat, but hopefully I'll hear it.
Yeah.
Perfect. I hear lots of chat notifications, which probably means you all can see my screen. All right, so this is the Handshake homepage. I'm going to touch on some of the cooler features from Handshake, how to search for jobs, and then your profile as well. So most of Handshake is pretty easy to use. One of the cool features is this community feature. This is where you can explore students. You can reach out to any student across the country. If they have a Handshake account, you can reach out to them, which is pretty cool. This is also where you can find the Q&A. So I'll just scroll down so that you all can take a look at some of the questions. So you can ask a question, and then other students, again, across the country are answering those questions as well. Oh, what does the training for a dancer at NBC Universal look like? That's kind of fun. Yeah, so this is
very
that's very specific. Yeah, so as you can see, there's a variety of questions here. NBC is like really big. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but good for them. You can ask questions, you can answer questions, you can just go look through and see what other people are asking as well, which is a really great feature as well. I'm gonna bounce back to the home page. Another fun feature is just their career paths. So if you're still doing a little bit of research, kind of finding out what you're looking for, you just want to learn more, you can start here. I say start. Keep in mind that this should not be the be-all, end-all of searching and finding information on positions. They do have, as you can see, a little blurb on what they do, kind of an average salary, cities for the role, and then kind of what those jobs are in Handshake for you to find. Again, if you're looking for salary info, this is just a survey that Handshake has done of students. So kind of take that information with a grain of salt, but it's a good starting point if you are just starting your job search and trying to learn about what positions are out there as well. All right, and then I'm gonna dive into what y'all are here for, the job search. Oh, they updated it. So this is the job search page on Handshake. So what it will do is Handshake will automatically either pull from like your profile, other jobs that you might have clicked on. If you have any like saved searches, it'll pull those types of things first. So for example, I am in higher education, so it's pulling like MATC. Also, I had clicked on a lot of MATC jobs. I've clicked on a lot of Oracle jobs. I promise that's not just like an advertisement for Oracle. I've actually just looked at their jobs. And so that's kind of what it's trying to do. If you don't do any search, that's how it'll pull things up. If you want to just pull things up in a different order, you can always click on relevance and just change to like date posted or to jobs that are expiring soon, essentially. But we're going to talk about how to search and best ways are. So really, it's not, a big hidden secret. It's pretty simple. You just want a keyword search. So I'm going to do one that I've done before, which is probably why I also get a lot of Oracle stuff, is I'm going to do data and then like internship. And then I can find internships for data analysts, data operations, data science. And this is really going to be that keyword plus maybe one filter is really going to be the way to get the best results. As you can see, there's some other filters here. You've got match all employer preferences. If you want to click that as well. We've got work authorization, industry, job function, major. I will generally caution students against using like industry or major. Employers just have a tendency to, when it comes to major, select all majors, which means that as a poli-sci major, I still see a lot of like sales jobs pop up because the employer selected all majors, and it takes me about 2 to 3 pages to get to actual jobs where a political science degree would be helpful, or even that skill set, or to find something that I'm interested in. So I find majors not super helpful. Industry is also not super helpful. That ties to the employer industry, not the actual job itself. So job function is a great way to search as well. And then one last fun little feature is we have labels by your school. So engineering, if you're an engineering student, they have like recommended jobs for you. And then we also have remote full-time job and remote internships. So if you're looking for jobs that aren't going to require you to move anywhere, especially during, the time of COVID-19, these are also great filters and labels to be searching for, so that you can really narrow in on those specific opportunities. Before I move on to your profile, are there any questions about job searching? Kathleen, if you mind pulling some of those questions if we get any.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any Handshake questions?
I don't hear the chat going, so I'm going to assume that's a no. All right, I am going to move on and kind of finish up with your profile. And if you have any Handshake, just general questions as well, feel free to put those in the chat or put them in at the end of the workshop as well, and I'm more than happy to answer those for you as well. All right, so here is my profile. Again, I keep saying this, in the virtual world, your profile is going to be super important. Employers do have the ability to search for you on Handshake and message you to ask about like job opportunities, what you're interested in. So it's really important to have your profile updated. One quick note, you'll see this nice little like lock next to there. That means you can't edit your GPA. You also can't edit your major. Those are all run through the Office of the Registrar. That just automatically gets updated in the system. So hopefully that's all correct for everyone. But if you haven't checked that out in Handshake, I recommend you do so and make sure that all of that information is correct. Ideally by the start of the fall semester. Sometimes the office just falls a little bit behind in updating any major changes, GPAs from the end of the semester, that kind of information. So you'll notice my profile is hidden from employers. I would recommend you make it public if you're looking for opportunities. Otherwise, employers won't be able to find you, see your profile, take a look to see if you would be a good fit for their opportunities. And then the other big thing to have updated is this Your Interests section. Again, it's only visible to me because I haven't made my profile public. But this is also really helpful to tell employers specifically what you are looking for. So you can just click on the little blue pencil to edit everything. You've got the different categories of kind of where you are in the job search. Any cities that you're interested in, I've got Atlanta, Madison, really anywhere warm, to be honest. And then industries, all of that fun information as well. Your skills are also going to be really important, as that's also a way that employers can search for students in Handshake. And then the rest of this will function very similarly to your LinkedIn profile. You've got work, volunteer experience, any organizations and extracurriculars on campus, projects, your courses. I would highly recommend, once you feel pretty confident or comfortable with your resume, uploading a resume. Employers will also download student resumes. A lot of career centers will also give out what are called resume books, where an employer will give a set of qualifications and will send them resumes that match those. So if at all possible, once you feel ready, I highly recommend uploading your resume.
And you can Oh, no, I was just going to say they probably can tell a theme with a lot of things we're talking about today is going to be fill out your profile, keep it updated, make sure it's relevant, and the more robust it is, the more likely that either an employer will find you or you'll find a job that you're interested in. So that is true for everything.
Yes, yeah, very true. Yeah, so if you get an opportunity or if you're like, oh, I'm over this, always keep that information updated. If you have summer experience, even if it's volunteer, always make sure that all of that is updated. That is incredibly important, especially since a lot of things are going to go virtual.
And employer recruiting this fall, at least, and probably spring, is definitely one of those things that's going to be virtual. So Handshake is going to be the place you want to be for looking for employers that recruit UW-Madison students.
Yep, Handshake is going to be where our career fairs, events, all those jobs live for the fall. So the more familiar you are and the more info you have on Handshake, the better position you'll be in for the fall and to find some of those jobs as well.
I think we had a question, and it was a good question, but I think let's save that one if that's okay.
Yeah.
For later, probably also because I have this poll ready here, and it doesn't let me go back and forth. My poll goes away. So is in the chat right now. We will definitely get back to you by the end, if not sooner. And now we're just asking you kind of where you are with your LinkedIn account, because again, we want to know how proficient you are and know what kind of things to tell you. And also, as we're waiting for responses, any additional Handshake questions?
Yes. Any questions?
Please feel free to throw those in the chat if it's a hand. That's a good one.
That's a good question. Handshake accounts. So I'll start with how far back should the information go on your profile. Some of that's dependent a little bit on where you are in college. So if you're like a freshman, sophomore, and you have some like high school volunteer experience, and you haven't had a ton of time in college to get that yet, feel free to do some of that high school experience. As you get further into college, though, you can start leaving that high school experience off. So I think I started leaving off high school experience usually when I got to my junior year of college, just because it was not as relevant. I had some other experiences as well. The other thing that I always do too is I try to have my profile kind of match my resume a little bit. So if I ran out of space on my resume with like high school stuff, or even from like 3-4 years ago, and if I felt it didn't tell and explain what I wanted for a position, I usually would leave it off. Do Handshake accounts expire after a certain length of time? They do not. You will have them forever as long as you know your login information. If you forget that, then you're in trouble, but you can always just request a new account.
I can grab this one. Is it okay to directly copy and paste stuff? I would say it is fine. I can tweak it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, your resume is going to be the same probably, right? If you feel like there's a different audience that you're, looking that you're looking to attract in them, but if it's kind of like I'm looking for the same job, the same employer, I don't see why not. That would be totally fine.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm trying to cruise through some of these because
that's great advice. Keep the information relevant to your position. What's the advantage of Handshake over a LinkedIn? So really, Handshake, I'll let kind of Kathleen do that when we get into LinkedIn. I'm just going to take a sec and kind of try to breeze through some of these other questions.
Okay.
Yep, we've already got some people doing that.
Yeah, so we are going to recommend both Handshake and LinkedIn, but our very next section is going to be LinkedIn, so I think that will answer that question.
I'm going to answer just one last question. If I've started my account and it's not complete, should I wait to make it visible to employers? Honestly, you can kind of do whatever you want. It's summer, so if you want to take right now, keep your profile private while you're updating it, and then as we get closer to like August, make it visible kind of regardless of the state. That's fine. Honestly, it's a little bit about what you're comfortable with. If you feel like you've got enough info in there about your skills, resume, and some of your job experiences, feel free to make it public. If you're kind of like, ooh, like I don't want anyone seeing this yet, then make it private. It's kind of over the summer. So employers are still figuring out their plans, and in the midst of COVID, so you've probably got a little time before they're really gonna start going.
All right. Well, in the interest of time, I think let's jump into LinkedIn here quickly so we can kind of question, what's the difference between LinkedIn and Handshake? And I have seen some great advice here in this chat. I would just say the answer is you definitely need to use both. The part about Handshake being exclusively for students and alumni is also true, so that part is like there's hopefully maybe less people, right? Like the audience and the employers on there are looking maybe specifically for UW-Madison students, so that. So that is a little bit of an advantage, but we're gonna say both, and here's why. So with LinkedIn, again, let's be complete. Someone asked about, I think, the Handshake kind of summary statement. So we'll talk about the LinkedIn summary statement. I think those are really similar. Yeah, so basically that statement should be kind of the elevator pitch, I would say. And Janine, feel free to, if you disagree, but I think your summary statement should be about, you are a current junior or senior who is studying blank, who is looking for an internship or job in blank and hopes to use their skills in blank to work in the blank industry, right? So it's like who you are and maybe a little of what you've done, but mostly forward-looking in terms of what you're hoping to do, because both LinkedIn and Handshake are presumably tools you're using to find a job or internship, right? So you want the very first thing that an employer sees to be, what is this person looking for, right? Like what if they don't even scroll down, they just see your like nice picture and then your summary statement. Can they deduce what it is you're looking for? So you're basically saying, here's who I am and here's what I'm looking for in the career world. Don't be a creeper, add a picture. Yep, that's for both Handshake and LinkedIn. And I put this on here because, I mean, it's statistically proven that you need to have a picture to like be found on LinkedIn more. But also, as some of you may have heard, we constantly say, don't put your picture and personal information on a resume. So it's a little contradictory, but just the nature of these platforms, you do better with a picture, and that picture does not have to be you in a suit. So in a second, mine might be me suit, but it doesn't have to be you in a suit. So let's actually, I'm going to jump over like Janine did to LinkedIn really quickly to show you how some of kind of our pro tips in terms of LinkedIn and the things that we notice that that folks maybe don't know about that are actually super, super handy. So let's pull, it's going to get meta for a second. All right, can you all see my my LinkedIn? If I could also get a thumbs up in the chat. I'm assuming that's a thumbs up.
Yes, lots of thumbs up.
Perfect. Okay, so picture. People ask about the picture. This is what your picture needs to be. You looking nice, smiling, and something that someone would be able to recognize you maybe on the street. Really just your face, you know, shoulders up so that someone could recognize you. It does not have to be in a suit. Of course, there are some opportunities for those kind of things, but doesn't have to be, especially depending on the industry you're looking for. If it's a more informal industry, you know, as you can see over here, some of these people, right? Like these aren't all suits. This one looks like a selfie, which, you know, you're taking a risk there, but okay. If you can have someone else take the picture, that would be great. But even like this, right? She doesn't have a suit on. It's just a collared shirt, but you can see her face, and that's what we need, right? See your face, recognize you. Okay, so a few things I will show you. So here's your profile. If you have not customized your URL yet, want to show you that. So you can go into contact info, and you can see that my profile is linkedin.com/in/my name. You want to make sure that yours is that as well, or something similar to that. So if you haven't changed yours yet, and if it's like a bunch of numbers, change that in your contact info. That will make it easier. And if you want to then link on your resume, that kind of stuff, it's a lot prettier. Okay, so we've got, of course, the jobs tab up here, which I'm guessing some of you have tried out. And similar to Handshake, similar to a lot of the search engines out there. What is the difference here? This is what I think. So even without, this is the same as Handshake, where it's like coming up with things I might like, etc. But the cool thing here is, okay, so let's check out this community engagement coordinator position. Well, because it's LinkedIn and I have connections, I can see that I have 2 connections that work there. So Joy and Mindy, awesome. So I do know Joy personally, so perhaps I could talk with Joy before applying about, you know, what kind of work environment they have over there at the School of Medicine and Public Health. Or I could ask her, oh, does she know the prior candidate and what they're really looking for, and find out if I'm qualified. So that is one huge piece of the job search that you don't get in a normal search, right? It's like the connection piece that could maybe either answer some questions for you and or potentially help you get your foot in the door to get an interview. So that is the cool thing, and it does, you know, connections. It also does people who are at your company and or alumni from your school. So there's different ways you can see how you're connected to a job, if that makes sense. Okay, 2 more features and we'll jump back here. So one thing, just wanted to talk about the news feed. So people have a lot more time right now, or a lot more time on the internet. And so feel free to engage with some of these discussions, obviously keeping it professional, right? We're going to keep it as professional as we can on LinkedIn. All right, and we were talking about the summary statement. So here is actually what I was talking about, where like, what if you go to someone's profile and the only thing you can see is that about section, right? Like you can see my current job, you can see me and Darlene back here, that's my mom, we're cruising in a lake up there, and then about, right? So because I'm not currently looking for a job, I kept it as what I am currently doing. and what I'm interested in. And then in terms of engaging with me, I talk about I'm always looking for opportunities to develop professionally and support students, right? It does not have to be long. And again, this is the like, here's who I am, here's what I'm looking for. So if you're not looking for a job, maybe it's something like this. Another awesome pro tip, you can always look at other people's to get ideas for yours, you know? So that's one of my favorite things. Uh-oh. Oh, I do want to show you one last thing here. Is the alumni network, and that one is going to come in handy when we talk about networking, and if you all are planning to do networking, the workshop coming up. So if you have not seen this alumni function, please look up now, because it is one of the coolest things about LinkedIn, in my opinion. So let's say, you know, here we are, University of Wisconsin-Madison. Let's go to the actual page for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So very cool thing is, here's the page and tabs over here. So yep, jobs, blah, 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 alumni. Awesome. Let's click that, and then this dashboard comes up. You can learn a lot from this dashboard, right? So there are almost 300,000 alumni on LinkedIn. That's amazing. And they live all over the United States, where they work all over. Apparently a decent amount of them are at Google. This probably makes sense because these are some of the largest corporations in the US. So, you know, scrolls over what they do, what they studied, which could be really cool if you are a psychology major and you're like, I want to know what psychology may do. Well, because I just clicked psychology, we're down to, you know, 13,000-ish. And then you go down and you can actually just start looking at some of these folks' profile and see what did they do with a psychology major. So this can be super helpful in a number of ways. And we are, I think, going to ask you to kind of think about that in just a second. But I will jump back over to this, and I will stop sharing this so you don't get dizzy. Questions about LinkedIn? Feel free to put those in the chat now. Any LinkedIn questions? That's a good question, Charlotte. Charlotte asks about applying to a position that's been posted for a while. Is it already filled? So that really depends. That's tricky. Look at the deadlines that they put on it, and if those are passed, maybe not. But if the job is still open, either through LinkedIn or maybe on the company's website, that's a good indication that it still is actually open. So I would check the website and do that. Yeah, you never know. Resume to LinkedIn. So recommend uploading your resume to LinkedIn profile. Yeah, I think so. I think you can modify it a little bit, but uploading, or do you mean like the document? Sorry, I thought in the creation of it you upload your resume and then it like autos in. Sure, it cannot hurt to upload it as like the full document. And any of y'all in like creative fields where you may have like graphic design or projects that you can virtually display, I would upload those to your LinkedIn as well. Do employers usually use both Handshake and LinkedIn? That's a good question. I'm not sure that we know the answer to that, Janine. I think it depends on the employer.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on the employer. I would say Handshake has a lot more for probably your recent grads, your internships, just because they know that's the population that's only on Handshake. And LinkedIn will have those too, but they also might have some more of those that require the like 10 plus years of experience as well, whereas Handshake will have way fewer of those ones. So it maybe depends a little bit more on like what specifically you're searching for.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions here. Making searches specific enough. So with I think it kind of takes a little trial and error when you do your searches, right? I think it's a combination of keywords, and then if they also allow you to do those filters, right? So you saw how Janine chose, she typed in data, but she also picked a filter of internship or job in that Handshake to make it more specific. So anytime you can use a filter plus a keyword, that is helpful. I know with LinkedIn it is a little sometimes tricky because it'll pick up like anything in someone's profile or something like that. But sometimes you just have to play around with different combinations, I would say. Directly search for job and apply for it. You definitely can do that on LinkedIn on the jobs tab, and as well as with Handshake, of course. But they will say different things. Like some will say, yep, you can apply here on LinkedIn. Some may just take you right to their website to apply.
Yep, and Handshake will do the same thing as well. Sometimes you can just upload your resume, call it a day. Other times they'll direct you to an external site, so both function very similarly in that way.
Yeah, and then we had a software website development question. So if you have your own kind of like website, your own profile, absolutely you can just link to it. I don't think it makes sense to upload all the stuff you already have. So yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Your own GitHub, whatever it is. So question for you all, thinking about LinkedIn. This is a little bit of a thinker, I would say, but we have alluded to the answer. So you're trying to decide if you should go to graduate school and eventually you want to work as a data scientist. How can LinkedIn help you make this decision? So just really quick, how might LinkedIn help you with this?
And then while you all are thinking, we got a question about, would you say UW-Madison students have a higher chance to get responses on Handshake compared to other job websites like LinkedIn? Personally, I would lean towards Handshake because those employers will usually specifically select UW-Madison. They're also selecting other schools, but most of the time we know that if they've selected Madison, they actually want to hire UW-Madison students as well. And we also know that they're looking specifically for recent graduates and internships as well. But again, LinkedIn, since it also has kind of that alumni networking, is still also a great place to be searching for jobs.
Save that career fair question for the end, how about?
Yep, yeah, we'll answer that once we get to
the end. We'll give you the fall update.
Yeah.
So Laura, thank you so much for answering our challenge question. You could use LinkedIn, find alumni who work as a data scientist, chat with them. Charlotte, you could just find other data scientists and see what their education history is. Exactly. You may not even need to talk to them. You could just kind of creep on their profile and see like, hey, do data scientists need a master's degree or not? So love what you all said here. So think about basically what I like to point out is you can use LinkedIn to answer some of those career questions, right? It's not just for applying to jobs, although definitely do that. But sometimes you have a question, what can I do with my sociology major? Am I qualified for X position? Should I go to grad school? Think of LinkedIn as a cool resource for you to do some research on that may help you answer those questions. So thank you all for contributing to that. You were spot on. Okay, I think we're going to keep rolling here just in the matter of time because we do want to get to one section about building your skills while you're looking for a job or internship. So hold your question for now. We're almost to the end and we'll be able to do some Q&A there. So this is just additional job internship sites. we have already talked about these a little bit with you all as you're talking about what sites are the best. Like we said, we recommend Handshake and LinkedIn for every UW-Madison student or alum. These are additional ones you may want to try. Industry-specific ones could be helpful because that is more narrow than something like Indeed.com. One thing that I just always caveat with with job sites, do not get lost in the whole of the internet that is job and internship postings, right? We all have been there and know what it's like to just be scrolling through these job postings all day. We really recommend a combination of approaches where you're finding the jobs, but then doing other activities as well. And so we're going to get to those basically right now. And just so you know, all of these links to these job sites are in that resource guide in case you would like to grab some. Okay, so networking. Yep, USA Jobs is great for federal positions, Kelly. So networking in a virtual environment. Good, awesome news. It's actually not that different than networking in real life because a lot of folks did a lot of virtual networking before, especially if they wanted to relocate to another place. Obviously, those big networking receptions I don't think are coming back anytime soon. So when we talk about networking right now, we are usually talking about that one-on-one connection that some of you even referenced in the chat in your answers. So personally, networking has always been important, and I think it's even more important, right, in a competitive environment. That's just a fact. People always, people prefer, I would say, not always, but people prefer a known quantity over an unknown quantity, right? And so that means if they know you and they know you are a likable person, interested, an engaged employee, or something positive about you, they're going to be more likely to say, yeah, let's interview this person. I actually know them. So that's where the networking piece comes in. Even if it's like I've only had a 30-minute chat with them, that's more than nothing, right? And that usually pays off. And the other thing I like to say about networking is you will never be worse off because you networked, right? So right now you're looking for a job or internship. If you do some networking, you're never going to be worse than looking for a job or internship, right? You're not going to lose anything. And so I just really encourage everyone to start that. And we have a lot of resources and of course an upcoming workshop on how to do that. But yeah, just go for it, you know. You won't be worse unless you're a jerk. And I know none of you are jerks, so. So question for you all that is related to networking. What is the hidden job market? Has anyone ever heard of that term, the hidden job market? And if you have, please go ahead and paste what you think that is in the chat. Awesome. We got an answer immediately. The hidden job market includes jobs that are not necessarily advertised or posted by companies. Exactly. So that is another reason why you need to network, right? Because if that's not ever even going to be posted, the list that we're talking about of jobs and internships, it might not even be up there. You have to know someone to know the job is open. And so now we're going to ask another question about that hidden job market.
Yes, all right. So we have got another poll. So here we go. What % of jobs are found through the hidden job market?
Ooh, this one's going to be close.
This one is. We'll see how this goes. All right. Nice. Good. We got some good answers coming in. All right, I'll give just a few more seconds for people to get their answers in.
Interesting.
All right, yeah, we keep commenting, so I will show the responses so that everyone else can hear what we're commenting on. Very interesting. We got a lot for the 45%. We've got some 60%, 75%. So we kind of got answers all over the board happening here.
And the
Cool. Sorry,
and the answer is actually 75%.
Yeah,
So,
it's way higher than you would think.
I will say that I did look for an updated citation to this. Some people will go so far as to say 90% of jobs are found through the hidden job market. I think that's a little extreme. But the point here is that's a lot of postings that you are never going to see. And so again, that networking is so important. So just to wrap up here on networking with you all, one of the most important parts of networking is the informational interviewing. And we all have kind of alluded to that already. And that is when you reach out to someone and you say, I'd love to learn about your career or the company you work for or how you got to where you are today. Could we talk for about 30 minutes, right? I think that this is a lifelong skill that folks, you will use until forever in terms of when you are looking for a job. So that's what informational interviewing is. Has anyone done any informational interviewing before? Feel free to do a thumbs up. Once, okay, awesome.
Oh, that sounds great.
Anyone else, or is this a new, okay, we've got, yep, not yet. I like the yet, Kelly, yep.
Yes, yay.
Cool, so we have a few here. I'm taking here. Did you all find that it helpful when you did that informational interview? We're waiting to see. Or what was helpful about it? How about that? Anyone have? What? That's perfect. Laura got an internship, so there you go. The best endorsement ever. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, so I've only done 2, but they were alumni and happy to help. Awesome. Thanks, Charlotte.
That's great.
Yeah, so it is not weird. I mean, yes, it could be wrecking sometimes, especially if it's someone who if someone who only who you don't know and it's like a cold reach out, but we promise you that no one thinks it's weird that you're reaching out. Alumni, as Charlotte mentioned, super happy to help and chat with you all. And as long as you're only asking for 20, 30 minutes of their time, they're really willing to do this. So highly recommend you all engage in informational interviewing. And one last question for you all. You have been waiting, I'm sure, with bated breath for your first quest. This is your quest. Where on the SuccessWorks website can you find more information about this? Feel free to paste the link in the chat. We'll see who gets to it first. And Tian Chang, you only got some information about the company. No worries. That's still good information, right? And sometimes it takes a lot of different informational interviews before you hit the one that's going to get you the internship, right? Let's see if this is the link. Okay, love it. That's a good one. Awesome. Thank you both so much. So there's actually 3 different links on. As you can see, we have a lot on it. The one that Olivia put in /networking is just the big, broad resource. And then the other 2 are kind of some step-by-step guide type things. Feel free to check those ones out. All right. We're going to get moving still. All right, Janine.
All right, yeah, I'm just gonna quick wrap up our networking, the how to find contacts. Badger Bridge, as we've already heard, our alumni are super helpful. They're always willing to chat. So if you're not on Badger Bridge, that's a great place to find alumni, your friends, your families, your colleagues, your professors, pretty much anyone you know. You can just start networking with them to get over that initial fear of just talking to a random person. As an introvert, I definitely feel that. And then LinkedIn, Kathleen kind of showed you how to find alumni, but you can also just search for people on LinkedIn. I'm going to take one quick second and awkwardly get in and share my screen. Here we go to quick walk through that. All right, so I've got LinkedIn up. If you just go to search, you can just search for people, and you can go connections, locations. If you go to all filters, you can search for anything. So if you want specifically someone at a specific company or in an industry, or languages, they went to school somewhere else. If you maybe transferred into UW-Madison from another school, but you still want to kind of keep some ties to the other school, feel free to do that. So this is a place to also find people that are outside of UW-Madison, or if you just want to get a little more specific as well with the UW-Madison search, that's a great way to go about it. All right, give me 1 second to switch back here to our slides. Sorry about this like super awkward pause going on here. All right, any final questions about networking? We've had some great ones so far. Perfect. All right. So we are going to move on quickly to some other ways that you all can be building skills during this time. Uh-oh, did I lose Kathleen? Hold on. There's an outside chance. Yep. Okay. So Kathleen's internet very possibly went out, and we've both been having those issues. So I'm gonna get going, and if she joins in, you might hear Kathleen jump in. So we have just launched Parker Dewey. If you haven't heard what that is, a lot of that information on the slide pretty much tells you exactly what it is. It is what are called micro-internships. So they're essentially small projects. They'll take 5 to 40 hours, and everything is paid. So nothing on there is going to be unpaid. You'll get all of the information up front about who the employer is, what they'll be doing, the pay, all of that is advertised. You can just apply directly through the Parker Dewey site. All right, and then we do have a partnership with Parker Dewey. So I'm just going to take a second and go to this web page so that you all can just take a quick look at what that will look like. Sorry, folks. 1 second. All right, so I'm going to quickly pull that up and then share my screen again. So much sharing back and forth. We've got something in the chat here. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is your homepage for micro-internships. This is specific to UW-Madison, so the account you create is free. So this is a great way just to build some of your experience. As you can see, they're for like new hires, they're interns. Some of it will be kind of entry-level stuff as well. And as you can see, we've got Fortune 100, startups, sales, marketing, technology, all sorts of stuff is going to live in Parker Dewey. I wish I could talk a little more about Parker Dewey. Kathleen actually really headed that up, so she will talk be able to talk a little bit more about it. Hopefully, give me just a sec. I'm going to try to get her back in here so that she can hopefully give you all and answer some questions about Parker Dewey for you all. Give me just 1 second, though, everyone. Of course, so many technical errors going on today. We were doing so well. But yes, Parker Dewey is really cool, and that's something that you are welcome to use even throughout the school year as well. We'll keep that up and ready for students throughout the fall into the spring as well. That's going to be a really great resource for students to kind of build your skills if you weren't able to get an internship. And if you were not able to get maybe a full-time job as well. All right, sorry about that, folks. So we also have some other options and recommendations for skill building as well. We've got some like case-based learning. We do have some virtual case studies that are coming out that we'll be having over the summer. You can volunteer virtually. The Morgridge Center is a really great place to find volunteer opportunities as well. They have some volunteer virtually opportunities. Ooh, Kathleen, did you make it back in?
Back! I'm
Yay!
back!
Awkwardly talked about Parker Dewey. Yeah, if you'd like to add your expertise, you're welcome to.
No, I mean, I don't know what you said, but I think, sorry folks for there. It was really trying to keep me out, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, Parker Dewey, give it a shot. Is that it's paid, right? They're all paid things. So when we talk about the skill building, a lot of these options aren't paid. The ones that it looks like Janine is talking about right now. So yeah, give it a shot. It's very similar to all the other websites we've been talking about today. You have a profile, you do the things, you apply, but it could be a good thing to do while you are in your search. So that's all I would say.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And just point, yes, if you're an alum, you can use Parker Dewey.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, so I'm just going to quick wrap up this other options for skill building. Volunteer virtually. You can use a new skill. There's LinkedIn Learning that we've been talking about. So if you all want to paste in the chat box a new skill you've been wanting to learn or develop that you think you will need for a job or an internship, we'd love to see what those are. LinkedIn Learning is a great way to learn some of those new skills. There's also some really great opportunities on campus. Oh dear, my internet connection is going bad. Here we go. But yes, learning a new skill, those are great things to be doing. Again, if you didn't get an internship or a job over the summer, those are still great ways to show employers that you are still dedicated to learning.
Janine, you are able to make me a moderator just in case your internet goes out?
Yep, for sure. Let me find.
We've got to get our contingency plan.
We really do. Yeah, Python, all of those things. Yeah, I wish I could learn all of those fun things as well. That's definitely not in my skill set. Okay, there we go.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we are going to very quickly, actually, I think because of time, we are going to skip this quest. However, the point of this quest was to let y'all know, oh, here I am now. The point of the quest was to let you all know that there are tons of trainings on DoIT's website that are all free to you. And DoIT also links to LinkedIn Learning, tons. All of those things that Kelly put up there, I think they have trainings on almost all of those. And there are also some that are soft skills training. It doesn't have to be like, you know, computer programming, etc. So we really recommend you check out those trainings. Because they're skills.
Yeah. So as I mentioned and Kathleen said, building your skills. Yeah. Like Kelly said, conflict resolution, time management, project planning, even some of those soft skills are really great because, as this quote says, even if you didn't get an internship, it's still great to be able to talk about what did you do with your time, whether that's over the summer, during the school year, to continue to build yourself. And those trainings, involvements are great experiences to still talk about, even if they aren't internships.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. All right. So last, we briefly talk about interviewing. Yes, interviewing is a skill that takes a lot of practice for everyone, even us in career services. We do a ton of practicing still with internships because they're stressful, they're scary, it's super hard to talk about yourself for like half an hour or more sometimes. So SuccessWorks has a ton of online resources on our website. I'm not going to delve too much into interviewing because we do have another workshop on July 14th about interviewing. So if you all want to improve your interviewing skills, that would be a workshop for you all to go to. But one really cool resource we offer is Big Interview. We have that as well. We'll have that linked on our handout as well. But that's a place where you can practice interviewing. There are interview questions that are general, that get at the soft skills, and they also have interview questions based on industry as well. So if you want some technical questions or you want some other type of questions, that is a great place to practice all of your interviewing skills, from your soft skills to those hard skills that are a little more industry specific as well.
All right, team. So we're going to skip this because Janine told you the quest.
I did.
She made it so you didn't have to go on the quest. But let's recap here today, and then we can jump into any of the questions we haven't answered yet. We'll try to do ones that are broadly applicable to everyone. So if you have a very specific question, we probably would send you to an advisor. But for now, let's recap, okay? Who you are, what you're looking for. You need to know that. You need to have a resume and a cover letter, and you need to do some research in COVID-19. Who's hiring right now? There are a lot of resources that actually tell you that. There are a lot of resources for remote jobs. So be strategic when it comes to your preparation. And then execute. Again, do a schedule, please. I really recommend that. And then we recommend dividing your time into 3 categories. So the 3 things broadly we talked about today are applying to jobs and internships, networking, and skill building. I think those 3 things are a great combination so that you are still working to build connections, you're still working to build your skills, even if you don't get that job or internship, say this summer. And again, that goes back to that quote, what were you doing instead, right? And so we want to make sure that you are keeping up with your development. So that is the recap here. We will go ahead now and do what we have been talking about and ask if y'all have any questions.
Yeah.
And just really, oops, sorry, Janine, I was just going to really quickly answer Ashvini about Parker Dewey. You do need to use CPT or OPT on an F1 visa.
Yep. And feel free, as Kathleen said, throw some questions in the chat if you have anything. I'm going to answer the question we got earlier about career fairs. Yeah, career fairs in the fall are going to be virtual. They're going to be on Handshake. So we're not going to have one large all-campus career fair like we normally would. We usually would have one at the Cole Center. We are not going to be having that because that's a lot of people to cram into one space. All career fairs from engineering to the business school, letters and science, ag and life sciences, all will be virtual, all will be on Handshake. So as we kind of start finalizing like dates and that stuff, keep an eye on Handshake for those to go live. You'll probably start to see fairs popping up in Handshake somewhere in like mid-July to early August to see what employers are going to be attending those as well.
All right. About companies asking for cover, if they don't ask for a cover letter, should you include one? To this, I usually say, do you have something that you really want to add? So you might find some people that tell you, oh yeah, add a cover, do a cover letter. It shows your extra, effort or something. But the thing is, if they didn't ask for one, I'm not quite sure that that is the case, right? Like if they didn't ask for it, maybe they don't want it, maybe they won't read it. So unless you are very specific to have something that you want to say in that cover letter that you're like, yeah, they need to know about X, Y, or Z, and it's not on my resume, it's really important, and so I'm going to attach a cover letter, I probably would not. I don't know that it can hurt necessarily if they just don't read it, but it also, of course, takes time. So that's what I would say to that question. Mm-hmm. Other questions that you all had, and if we skipped your question, please feel free, so that it's here in the chat. We do have a question about how good you need to be with C++ and Java. So that's always tricky, right? Here's what people ask this a lot about, like languages, software, etc. Here is what I would say about that. Be ready, whatever you say. So like introductory knowledge or proficient or advanced, be ready to be able to show someone that, right? You have to be able to defend what you put on your resume. So if you say you're advanced in C++, like you better be able to, in an interview, just go on and start using C++ to like make something. Same thing with proficiency in languages. If you say you're fluent in Spanish, you should be able to do the whole interview in Spanish. So that is something I would say, think about what level your proficiency is and how you would defend it if someone said to you, oh, tell me what intermediate means, tell me about your experience. Answer to that one. See any others, Janine?
Yeah, going through. Yeah, Grace asked, how do virtual career fairs work? That's a great question. That's kind of a lot to unpack. I will do like the very brief version. Essentially, it will just be a chat with employers since it's Handshake. If you have your profile information filled out, that's how employers are going to kind of know what your qualifications are, all of that kind of stuff. Generally, there's like what they call like a waiting room where you can see all of the employers that are attending the virtual career fair, and then you just essentially click to join a chat. We haven't actually seen what handshakes will look like. So sometimes it's you just join a very general chat with all sorts of other people, and then the recruiters will try to grab each person to do some one-on-one time. Sometimes it's just you go straight into one-on-one, and it's essentially virtually getting into a line, and then when the recruiter has time, you'll get a message from them. But the rest of it is going to be very similar to an in-person career fair. You'll still do your elevator pitch. You should still have a resume uploaded to Handshake so that you can share that with them. You should still do all of your research. You'll just be communicating all of that through chat instead of in person. Yeah, sorry I can't go in to more depth, but there's kind of a lot to get into with exactly how all of that works.
And I think there will be a lot more coming on the on that front about virtual. Lots of folks are going to be having those questions, and so keep your eyes on Handshake and on our website, because I think we'll be offering some how to prepare for virtual events type stuff. Someone asked for the link to the Google Doc with all the our resource guide. So I have pasted that again if you need it. If you did not get a chance to send Janine your WISC email, please do so. I want to make sure we answer Olivia's question here, because I think she had asked it before about industry-related experience. So worked full-time throughout school and part-time jobs. So those are really important, right? And I absolutely think there are ways to market them. If you want to specifically talk about that, feel free to make an appointment with your career advisor and say, like, I really want to market these experiences. But the things that come to mind in general about having jobs are, responsibility. If you worked full-time for 40 hours a week, you can put that on your resume. That's a lot for someone who hasn't graduated college yet, right? The responsibility of working 40 hours a week. You probably had some teamwork. I'm guessing there was maybe some problem solving in your job. So it's really all about thinking about the transferable skills that you had, the skills you had to use in those jobs that maybe aren't super apparent to you, but when you really think about it, you're like, oh yeah, I did have to work with like a team of people, and I did have to solve problems on the fly. So that's how I would suggest you market it, just very briefly. And then, like I said, please feel free to come in and an advisor can chat with you more in depth. You have another one, Janine?
Yeah, just to reiterate, we got another question about work authorization for Parker Dewey. So yes, if you are an international student, you will need to use CPT or OPT to do anything on Parker Dewey.
And you will have to connect with IS. You don't necessarily recommend that you use your OPT for that, but that's an individual conversation. So
yes.
Other questions that you all had? I think Sophia asked about online certificates being actually valid. I think it depends on how you put that on your resume and how you market your experience, right? I mean, if by taking a course you now are proficient in something that you weren't, then I don't think that the certificate is even the point, right? It's the proficiency that you now have in the thing and the skill that you can now put on your resume or your profile somewhere. Hopefully that answers the question about the courses. If not, feel free to drop another one in there. Yeah, so Kelly said some are industry standards. So of course it does depend on the certificate, right? if it's an industry standard and it's like required, of course, that's super important. I think Sophia was talking more about like the ones that you might just pursue just because, but I could be wrong. All right, last chance for questions, folks. Seems like maybe we're wrapping up here, which is great. Thank you all so much for coming. As you can see, this shows the slide shows the next Badgers on Track workshops that are coming up, RSVP on Handshake, just like you did here, and you'll be able to attend those. And then we did want to mention how you can make an appointment with SuccessWorks, and that SuccessWorks is for LNS grads. So if you are not an LNS student or grad, check out the link in the resource guide that will take you to find your career center, and they probably have a similar offering. So, Janine, any last thoughts?
I don't think so. Thank you everyone for coming. I know we definitely ran way over, so I very much appreciate all of the great questions though, and that you all were like really thoughtful and just for being here and taking part in our workshop today.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there was something that you felt you didn't get in this workshop, I believe you will get a survey. So please let us know. We really do want to offer things that are going to be helpful to you all in this time, and we want to support you in your job and internship search. So feel free to reach out.